Hi, my name is Felipe Cabargas, and I will do a small deck tech for the deck that I took to the second installment of the Tier1 Con Webcam Series. I decided to take Yidris Storm Builder. He's a Sans White commander that reads Trample, and whenever Yidris deals combat damage to a player, as you cast spell this turn from your hand, they gain Cascade. He's a 5/4, which is pretty relevant, and also he has the word Cascade, which is probably one of the most broken mechanics in Magic. So this is a typical Storm list that uses the commander on main phase, on the second main, to get extra spells and find cool new ways to win the game. He's also really fun to play. So I hope you guys like it. To start, well, this is a typical Adnos list. So CMC is pretty low. Curve is mostly around 1s and 2s. And this card, it's one of our main engines to win the game. In addition to that, we're also running Peer into the Abyss. It's pretty amazing to see that lists are able to play both a 5 and a 7 drops on the same list. Pretty color intensive as well, Peer into the Abyss, but it enables us to be more aggressive, lose more life, and then still draw a lot of cards. The card has fallen a little bit in value since the printing of Hullbreacher, but I took it to the tournament and it performed well. But it's one of those things that it's always on the watch. We also have another line in the form of Underworld Breach and Brain Freeze combo. This is another pretty standard Grixis line. I won't go much into it, but the idea here is to generate enough Storm, or to either mill out our opponents or find our Oracle and cast it from the graveyard with the Underworld Breach. And that way win the game. And as I mentioned, this is also a consultation deck. So Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation, the all-stars of the format, in conjunction with Tainted Bag. So that's why you will see in the list that we run a snow cover and an island. So we follow the rules text for Tainted Bag. Not much to say about this combo, pretty efficient. Out of the 4 rounds that I got to play in the tournament, including the finals, all my wins were with Thassa's Oracle, so pretty efficient, pretty resilient. You can be doing poorly on a match and then getting there with these cards. You can also play it low, so it gives you another angle. Yeah, not much to say. So going back to the commander, we already read Yidris, but the important part here is this: when it deals combat damage to a player, they gain Cascade. So as we are a Cascade deck, we also have some ways to manipulate the top of the deck in the form of Sensei's Divining Top, Noxious Revival, and things like Brainstorm also help us, and obviously the tutors to the top. They can also be pretty good to set up those cascades into, I don't know, from 3 spell into an Underworld Breach or something else, and then giving us the win that we need. Alongside that, we run a lot of ramp, and most importantly, we run a lot of the 0 CMC mana rocks. They are really important in our deck, as they to some extent, they ensure that after Yidris connects, we get some more extra mana in the form, or like we net, we get to play a spell for free, basically, if we play a 1-drop, and then we get a Petal or a Diamond or an Opal. We're running 14 artifacts in the deck, so the Opal enabler, it's there, it's easy to do. Not much more to say about that. The other engine that we have in the deck is Song of Creation. So Song of Creation is an enchantment that reads: you may play an additional land on each of their turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards, and at the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. Yidris has the peculiarity of being a main phase commander. as I mentioned, when he's in the field, we want to hit, and then we want to try and win on our second main. So Song of Creation is great in the deck. Being able to draw 2 cards, playing an extra land, and on top of that cascade from each of our spells means that we can, in some cases, even draw our deck naturally and then just play an Oracle for the win, which is insane to think about. But yeah, the value of this. Also, it's whenever we cast a spell, so the cascaded spells, they get casted as well, so we will draw of those. And we don't have that many problems refilling our hand if we pass the turn and then Yidris makes it all the way back. So that's pretty good. We also have another line, which is the wheels. So we are running 3 wheels inside the deck: Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Misfortune, and Windfall. And then we have 3 smaller payoffs for those. Well, not that small, but we have them in the form of Notion Thief and Hull Breacher, and something that I run on my list, Waste Not, which is an enchantment for 1 and a black that whenever an opponent discards a creature, we create a 2/2 zombie. Whenever our opponent discards land, we add 2 mana to our mana pool, and whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land, we get to draw a card. So these wheels get pretty ugly for our opponents if we have a Waste Not on the field, because they will totally enable us more mana and they will totally give us more cards. And the upside of the format having evolved into having all these value creatures is that we will be able to put a few zombies that are also really good blockers against Tymnas. They're also really good to save those extra life points that can be relevant for an Adnos line. So yeah, that's part of how to punish our opponents. The entire format is running a lot of wheels, so these are also deterrents. And in the talking about deterrents, we have a lot of them in the deck in the form of Opposition Agent. These gotcha cards, the new ones, are really good the first time, but I see them mostly as deterrents. So this will stop our opponents from playing their tutors and their fetch lands, and they will get behind. We also have Hull Breacher. We already talked about the card, but it's amazing. It's super powerful card. I'm not sure Blue needed more powerful cards, but here we are, so we're running it. We also have Notion Thief. We also have Waste Not, as I mentioned. We also have Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora, as usual. And we also run Counterbalance. So Counterbalance is particularly interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. Counterbalance reads, it's an enchantment for 2 blue that reads, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, counter that spell if it has the same converted mana cost as the reveal card. As I mentioned previously, our CMC curve is pretty low, and that means most of our cards will hit one thing during the round. And it's pretty important for this deck, because we don't, even though we run a lot of protection spells, it's really great to like search for these engines, as I mentioned, with our tutors and stuff. So we don't want to waste them searching for counter spells, and Counterbalance is great for that. And we also have the advantage of being able to manipulate the Counterbalance. So with the trigger on the stack, we can go for a Vampiric Tutor, Mystical Tutor, as in Says Divining Top, Noxious Revival, Brainstorm are also great to put something. Rhystic Study, so any draw spell will also be able to, like, if we know what's on top doesn't work and our opponents know that it doesn't work, having any draw spell will change that math. And Rhystic Study is great because we can always be stacking the triggers differently if we know we have what it takes on the top or not. So it's pretty great in that sense. And in regards to attacking our opponents, we also have a lot of removal in the deck. First, I want to talk about the bouncers, because the bounce spells will also help us ramp to some extent or protect our stuff to some extent. So we're running Chain of Vapor, Snap, and Repeal. These three are great. As I mentioned, they can protect, they can remove. They are really, really good. And Repeal also will get us a card, so it refills itself. In the case of Chain of Vapor, we can use it as a ramp spell on our Cascade Stormy turns, so that's amazing. And we also have other more direct kinds of removal in the form of Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay, the two Golgari removal spells. Really great. Assassin's Trophy even better now, because the downside of your opponent searching their deck for a land, you can get that land if you have an opposition agent, or if there is any opposition agent, they just won't go for it. So it's unconditional removal that maybe doesn't get the land back. It's amazing. We also ran Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. I prefer to run both. Pyroblast is particularly great because it can target something that is not blue, so it's free. It's free Storm if we wanted to, if we needed to, and we are also running Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is also something that I put in the deck as of late. It took some thinking to put it in the deck, and I still debated, but it was really great during the tournament because it removes everything that is important in the format. It removes the agent, it removes the Notion Thief, it removes the Hold Breacher, it removes Branded Magistrate, which is awful for our deck because it basically says Yidris does nothing besides being a 5/4. So it's great. I also got to use it to remove a player after a bad Adnos, so that's also really, really great. We're also running Mystic Reflection in the deck, a new inclusion from Kaldheim. It's really great. I didn't get to use it that much during the tournament, but I think it has great potential in the future. The foretell aspect of it, a little bit predictable because we're not running any other foretell spells in the deck. So that's not as useful, but the ability of being able to either counter a Thassa's Oracle or responding to a Thassa's Oracle with a Thassa's Oracle of our own by playing this and an opposition agent. It has great flexibility. I was able to get rid of Branded Magistrates this way, or put the Branded Magistrate player into a lock in my testing. So it's a card that has great potential. Yeah, this is one of the debatable ones, but I will keep it in the list for a while, and hopefully it will show that it's a good card. It can also target a Dockside Extortionist when we don't have one. It's really great. I don't have. I will even use it in replacement of a Yidris, like make Yidris enter as a good Dockside or something, if needed. So great card, great inclusion for the list. It also can be, as long as there is a target, we can cast it even if we don't have another creature, which is relevant for our game plan. So yeah, in general, the list pretty solid, pretty resilient. The rest of the package is normal. We have a lot of ramp, a lot of tutors, a lot of cantrips, and a really solid mana base that allows us to have the 4 colors as soon as possible. So yeah, what more can I say about the deck? It's a really skill intensive list in the sense that once you play the deck a lot, you will know what your cascades look like. You will also tend to remember what previous cascade reveals. So like for the 0 spells, it's pretty important to know if like, oh, mana creep is all the way down, so I won't get 2 mana of this cascade. I might get a pack of negation of this one, which might be also be really relevant. So it's really interesting. I encourage you all to play with the deck. I encourage you all to participate in the tournaments with the deck. It gave me great luck during the tournament, so I love this guy, and and I will continue playing it. I hope you guys like this, and I hope to see you in the Tier 1 Con. Thanks.